Yo, JD here, Teolimus, and as you can see, we are back with AOR here today, round the Hungaroring, if I said that right, and this track is not really a favourite track of mine at all. As you can hear, my engineer, Tyrrell Martin here, has given me a little bit of guidance if it's wet for the race. I didn't even realise this until I was actually commentating on this at all. But yeah, this race coming into it, I'm using the controller, and if you haven't seen my Twitter or followed me, then this is going to be my last race on the controller this season. And I decided to make that change because I've been speaking about it for such a long time now, and believe me, I understand people get frustrated about me keep on saying that I'm going to switch, but really it is time for me to do that because I'm not really interested in coming second, third or fourth in the championship. And with esports in the future, I'm looking at the bigger picture. I really want to get into my potential as soon as possible, so the only way to do that is to stop switching between the devices and just go for it, because in terms of me winning this season, it's going to be incredibly hard. I think there's about a 50-point gap between myself and the Flying Finn coming into this race already. So it's going to be very, very hard. I need him to have, a few unlucky moments, which is something I don't really want. I want to beat him fair and square. But between the two devices, I feel the wheel has the potential, it has the speed over the controller. And instead of making excuses about it, I want to become the best I possibly can for the future, not only for AOR, but for future events, esport events, LAN events. That's something I really want to do, and I want to be in a position to challenge at the very top. So this is probably going to be my last gameplay on the controller in a league race for quite some time, but I will still be using it for videos in the future because I can still switch back between them relatively comfortably. But for this, managed to qualify in P5, and the practice, we did an actual 0.6 on the wheel, but we just weren't that quick. We just weren't as consistent as were the controller, so I decided to stay on it for this race. But P5 in this, a 16.8, a pretty solid time. ESR Simon is the next controller player ahead of us, who's, I think he's second in the world, or first or second in the world around here, so he's absolute specialist. But as you can see, as Tyrrell Martin mentioned, it is intermediates for the start of this race, so I was really looking forward to that. Using 4.9 wings, as you can see at the start of this video, which I felt was a pretty good choice. In practice, it was working very, very nicely. But coming into here now, we managed to get one position off the start at least. So getting past, oh my god, it's Joe. And now it looks like Evo and Simon coming a little bit closer together. So we're going to try and get past these guys as quick as possible, because I saw this as a really, really good opportunity to try and hassle the Flying Finn, because I know he's very good in wet conditions as well. But around this track, I felt with the controller and just me really liking the wet, that it was an opportunity for me to really try and do a repeat of Australia. So at the moment, sticking behind ESR Simon and NOR Evo, who are both in their own rights very, very good wet players. So hard to overtake around here. Some people say it's kind of like Monaco without the walls, so give or take, it's up to you what you think of that. But this track is very, very tight and narrow, so the opportunities are really going to be on the home straight, not really too many. So coming through this fast left-hander here, Simon is getting a little bit out of our shape. He's actually gone wide here, so this is a perfect moment for us to go down the inside. He's going to hold it round the outside, we're the car ahead, so we're just going to use the racing line because we just don't really want to be going side by side. Harsh but fair maybe on that occasion, but slipping us into third place behind NOR Evo. And now coming on to the end of the second lap, Finn has pulled out a nice little gap, so he's really coming quite well, coping with these conditions pretty well. I think he's running 5.11 wings, so he's running more downforce than us, but our pace is feeling really, really good at this point. So just go try and get past Evo as much as possible. So coming into this last corner, he's actually taken a little bit of a wide line, which is something I don't think he really intended to do. As we're almost getting the snap of oversteer, so almost losing the car, but I think we're running a lot less downforce than anyone else. So look at us in a straight line. We're going so much faster than Evo. So we're just going to go down the inside because he just left the room right down into turn one. Made a little bit of contact, but leaving room on the outside. And I think he's just backed off, to be honest. I think he's just let us go. He didn't really try and challenge us into turn two. So now gives us a free run at the flying Finn, and now we're going to be able to see what kind of pace we can do. Running a lower downforce in the wet, I don't really feel it actually makes that much difference, but in the dry, I know his pace is pretty scary, so we're going to try and make the most of this now. So the gap is 2.7 seconds, and I think it's pretty much stayed at this point as well, so it's gone up to 2.8, so the gap has just stayed the same as we pulled out a huge gap behind us. So myself and Finn were driving pretty well this race, I'd say, with not really any mistakes, and the gap was just staying exactly the same, so fair play to him. He was driving a hell of a race at this point, as we just managed to just pull away from Evo, who I think is battling quite a few people behind him, was just slowing him up. But now it's starting to dry up at this point. The rain has stopped. Coming through this, coming into the third sector now, and let's see, we've actually gained a little bit of time on Finn, so gained a few tenths in that middle sector, so he's starting to struggle on his tyres, and DRS has actually been enabled, I think, which is a clear signal in this game that it's time for dry tyres. So we could have gone for another lap because we had a decent gap behind us, but I didn't really want to take that chance. I wanted to still try and win this race. If we could get ahead of him, my strategy was, with this downforce, if we could get ahead of him, then we would have the straight line speed to really cover him off on the home straight. That was basically my strategy coming into this race. So coming into the pits now, go change onto the medium tyres, which we can easily, well, I wouldn't say easily, but definitely take to the end with about 70-ish%. So coming out of our pit box, I think we gained a little bit of time, as some people have decided to actually continue on. Finn comes to exit the pits, we press the pit limiter button as Lockdown has come out in front of us and just between myself and Finn, which is pretty lucky for him because he could have been held up. But the dry tyres are proving to be the quicker at this point, as we caught up to Lockdown halfway through the lap. And it's crucial we get past him as quick as possible, because at this point I was feeling really in tune with these conditions, as Lockdown has almost spun and we could have damaged our wing there, which I wasn't too pleased about at this point. But you see DRS enabled now, actually, in fact, so it's clear that it's definitely dry conditions, and I think we made the right choice and going on these tyres at this point. So coming into the last corner now, and we'll be able to see the gap. I think it's going to be around 3 seconds or so, so we lost a little bit of time that lap behind Lockdown, but we'll be able to see the gap. It is 3 seconds behind Finn. So we're just going to move on to just going through a sequence of laps now, just to see what the pace is actually like. So we set the fastest lap, and in these conditions where it was still damp, we were still driving very well, and I felt like the race was still there to be won at this point. I felt there was an opportunity because we were going a tenth or a couple tenths quicker per lap, and I felt if we could maybe get within 2 seconds, then he might make some mistakes. As Martin is still speaking to me in the party chat, he's let me know who's got penalties and not, so appreciate that. You really did a good job on that. But coming through here now, yeah, in these conditions, I was quite surprised. I expected Finn to really pull away as he sets the fastest lap, so his track is just getting drier and drier as we counter that, going 2 tenths quicker than him. So if we could just maintain this pace and, you know, bring the gap down to around 2 seconds, might make him a little bit nervous, a little bit panicky. You never know what can happen, but it is Finn. He's very cool under pressure and very difficult to overtake as well. So even if we got to the back of him, I think it'd be very difficult to make a move in him. But we're going to try. We give it 100% all the time. So coming up through here, I think we're going to stay on board for this lap, because this is pretty much an example lap what I'm doing the whole race. But so we're quicker in the first sector. I think that wing is really helping. But in this middle sector, I noticed throughout the whole race he was just a lot quicker for me in this middle sector. You might say it's because he's on the wheel or the device, but I think the setup definitely just didn't work in this middle sector. I think if I was running 5.11, that definitely would have made me a lot quicker through there. As you can see, I think we lost a little bit of time through there, and towards the end of this race as well, it's adamant that we're just losing time there. But our first and last sector, we're quicker, if not on par, pretty much every single lap in this race. So coming through here now, we'll be able to see what kind of lap we do, as the track is drying reasonably quickly, but it was taking a long time. You know, still got raindrops, as Finn does a 25 and we did a 25 too as well. So just fractions just quicker now. But the track is now starting to dry quite a bit, as Finn does, I think, a 23, and we only do a 24.2. And that was the case really for the rest of this race. You know, we were about 2 or 3 attempts, or two to half a second, 2 to 5 attempts slower per lap. And you can see 8 laps on, he's now 7 seconds ahead. And yeah, there was no real competition here between myself and Finn. He was just constantly just that much quicker per lap, which you could say again it was just through the setup. As the track's drying out, the downforce is going to exploit that even more. But I've decided to use the wheel for the rest of this season. It's about time that I really commit to it and just see what I can do in my potential, because AOR Championship, I want to win one, definitely one day, and I still want to win this season. It's not completely over, but I just want to reach my full potential, and it's about time that I just give it a full commitment into trying to achieve that goal, not just for AOR but for esports in the future as well. So I really hope you support me in this. This race wasn't really too much action, but it was quite intense as well. Getting a second place round this track, I feel, was a pretty good result. Coming into Spa now, which probably is one of my favourite tracks on the game, so I'm really looking forward to that, to see what I can do around there. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for the support as usual, and I will catch you next time. Peace.